Good afternoon and welcome back to RMU-Live for Friday, April 6th. I'm Dylan McKenna.
And I'm Morgan Torsha. Here's what's happening now.
Covestro, a local company, has invested $400,000 to Robert Morris University. The grant money will go towards the creation of the Covestro Center for Community Engagement. The purpose of the center is to provide social training programs to corporations and nonprofits throughout southwestern Pennsylvania. The center will replace the Covestro Institute for Engagement, which began in 2015. The new center will offer 3 courses to both nonprofit and executive businesses.
This past Wednesday in Moon Township, a man named James Clayton Westover was shot several times in his driveway by another man by the name of Lex Miller. Officers arrived at the scene, and when Miller refused to put his gun down, police returned fire and he was pronounced dead at the scene.
The third and final teenager who broke out of the Schumann Juvenile Detention Center in Pittsburgh last week was caught Thursday morning, according to the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department. Deputies found Ramonte Green hiding under a bed and took him into custody. A fellow TV reporter was caught off guard after the East Pittsburgh police were called on her. The police were alerted to a crazy person talking to herself. Megan Schiller from KDKA was hosting a Facebook Live report following up on landslides around Pittsburgh. After a month-long narcotic investigation out of a home in Bethel Park, Eric Paternoster and Melissa Bancroft were arrested at their home after being charged with several substance charges. Police also say a child was living in the home at the time. If you're a drug dealer, stay inside today. The Allegheny County District Attorney's Narcotics Enforcement Team is hitting the streets today with the goal of bringing down about 20 street-level to mid-level drug dealers. The operations are planned to take place in Springdale, Indiana, Franklin Park, Hampton, Shaler, Etna, Millville, Sharpsburg, Crafton, and McCandless. Authorities are looking for heroin, cocaine, prescription pills, methamphetamine, and marijuana.
Police in McKeesport report that a vehicle went airborne and hit a house, parked car, and utility pole. Police say the accident happened on West 5th Avenue in McKeesport last night. According to authorities, several people helped to get the driver out of the car before emergency services did arrive. Police say alcohol did play a role in the accident.
A former WWE wrestler was struck and killed along McKnight Road in Ross Township early Wednesday morning. The victim was identified as 71-year-old Thomas Sullivan, who went by the name Johnny Valian. Sullivan wrestled professionally in the 70s and 80s. Before James Paxton began pitching against the Twins for their home opener last night, he was taken by surprise when an eagle that was brought in for the home opener decided to attempt to land on the player. He said he was panicking, but knew he wasn't going to be able to outrun an eagle, so he decided to just remain calm. And in other animal news, a bear cub was rescued Easter Sunday after he was found by a man hiking with his dog. The pair were hiking in Saluda when they found the cub, weak and underweight. The cub is now doing well in the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. 3 people were injured in a shooting at YouTube headquarters in San Bruno, California on Tuesday. With more on this story, we go to our special coverage studio with Gage Golding. Gage?
Thank you, Dylan. Authorities in San Bruno, California say 39-year-old San Diego resident Nasim Agdam was upset with YouTube's policies, which led her to shoot and wound 3 people and kill herself.
Once again, we are confronted with the specter of mass casualty situation here in the city and county of San Francisco.
Agdam used YouTube to express and share her views on veganism, animal rights, and lifestyles.
San Bruno Police Department received numerous 911 calls regarding gunshots at the YouTube campus. Upon arrival, officers encountered numerous employees fleeing from the building. It was very chaotic, as you can imagine.
Of the 3 victims, 2 have been released from the hospital, and 1 is still in stable condition in a San Bruno hospital, where her condition has been upgraded from serious to fair.
I actually was on a video conference with someone who was in the building when it happened, and we were all suddenly aware.
Desperately needs to be changed. Desperately needs to be changed.
Thank you, Dylan. Authorities in San Bruno, California say 39-year-old San Diego resident Nasim Agdam was upset with YouTube's policies, which led her to shoot and wound 3 people and kill herself.
Once again, we are confronted with the specter of mass casualty situation here in the city and county of San Francisco.
Agdam used YouTube to express and share her views on veganism, animal rights, and lifestyles.
San Bruno Police Department received numerous 911 calls regarding gunshots at the YouTube campus. Upon arrival, officers encountered numerous employees fleeing from the building. It was very chaotic, as you can imagine.
Of the 3 victims, 2 have been released from the hospital and 1 is still in stable condition in a San Bruno hospital where her condition has been upgraded from serious to fair.
I actually was on a video conference with someone who was in the building when it happened, and we were all suddenly aware of a lot of sort of noises of sounds of people running outside of the room where she was, and people screaming.
I heard gunshots. It was really close to me because I could feel the power of the gun.
Now, Morgan and Dylan, one thing that makes this shooting a little bit different than a lot of the other ones that have been happening recently is this shooter used a 9mm Smith & Wesson handgun, where most of the other shootings have used rifles. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Gage. We will continue to bring you the latest as this story develops.
The northern Illinois town of Deerfield has now passed a ban on assault weapons. The town says if the 18,000 residents of the Chicago suburb, with the exception of law enforcement and retired law enforcement, don't forfeit or secure the weapons that fall under the ban, the charges can range from $200 to $1,000 a day.
A Cleveland man, after being wrongly accused, was sent to 15 years in jail. Here's Joe Bakanakis with more on the story.
Desperately needs to be changed. Desperately needs to be changed.
Ruel Saylor is still not completely a free man, now forced to wear an ankle monitor for 120 days, even though last week he was released from prison after it was determined he was wrongfully convicted in a 2002 murder case. Saylor spending 15 years in jail for a crime he didn't commit. Saylor now hoping this Ohio Department of Corrections regulation will be changed in cases where someone has been exonerated.
If I had to be the one to bite the bullet first, to open the door for others, then I don't mind biting the bullet. I'll wear this ankle monitor for 4 months or a year if I have to. If it's going to make change for other people behind me to come and not go through the same things I went through.
The state law definitely does have to be changed.
Black on Black Incorporated also fought for Saylor's release. President Al Porter told News 5 his organization will work towards changes in state ankle monitor requirements in cases involving those released from prison due to wrongful conviction. Porter says he's confident the Ohio Innocence Project will also fight for change.
We will stand also to make sure that the next person doesn't have to go through this, especially once they've been freed and proven innocent beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Meanwhile, Saylor is committed to dedicating his life in helping others in jail who believe they've been wrongfully convicted.
The guys that where I just came from, I can be a leader to them and help them in a motivation and inspire them to fight for their freedom as well.
Thank you, Joe. What Saylor is doing is truly amazing.
A missing employee last seen February 12th, from the Center for Disease Control, Timothy Cunningham, was found dead in the Chattahoochee River this past Tuesday in northwest Atlanta. Cunningham was 35. Police say the cause of death was drowning and there was no foul play involved.
Residents in one Missouri town woke up this past Sunday to find some Easter eggs filled with neo-Nazi propaganda rather than candy. The eggs were accompanied with a flyer that promoted a group with anti-Semitic ties known as the Adam-Waffen Division. The Missoula police are investigating and the FBI has been informed. Adam-Waffen translates to atomic weapon in German, and the group has been linked to 5 murders in the United States since 2017.
A mother in Kansas City has found herself uncertain of where her baby is buried. Sarah Postpachal says her baby's headstone at Forest Hill Cemetery was moved 15 years ago, and this past Easter discovered his new grave was the proper death for a cremation, but claims her son wasn't cremated. The cemetery says she must pay a $4,800 fee for the grave to be brought up.
After a scarcity that lasted more than a decade, the 2017 hurricane season saw 3 major hurricanes make U.S. landfall. The tropical Atlantic Ocean was reportedly warmer than usual, which led to the spike in activity last year. It can be difficult to predict hurricanes, especially this early in the season, but if ocean temperatures remain consistent, 2018 could bring another busy hurricane season.
Now with a quick look at weather. Avon, it's been pretty cold lately. Any chance it's going to warm up soon?
Thanks, guys. We here. We live in front of Nickel Center here. Well, today's weather is going to be a 50 degree with a low of 37. As we can see here how it feels, it's been a little chilly out here. You might bring some gloves, a little bit of hoodie, a little beanie. That would do. You know, like they say, April spring brings May flower. Now I'm going to bring it back to you guys, back on the desk to more on news.
Thank you so much, Evan. That was fantastic. And for all you need to know about news, sports, arts, and entertainment at Robert Morris and around Pittsburgh area, visit RMUcenturyMedia.com. Coming up, an update on the poisoning of a former Russian spy and his daughter in the UK.
And a famous Bollywood star has been sentenced to prison. Find out why after the break.
It appears these hot ashes are about to be dumped, which could possibly start a wildfire. How will Smokey deal with such a hot situation? The garden hose defense. Next, a thorough stir. Then another spray. And finally, feeling if the ashes are cool.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, yes, the selfie. A ritual practiced so frequently with this tribe, but not so much by Smokey Bear.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
They call me Prince like I'm royalty or something. But the places I've lived ain't no palaces. So I don't need grilled salmon or a new scratching post. Just give me a cardboard box and a can of tuna and we're good. You can even change my name. I'm cool being the kitty formerly known as Prince.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Only you can prevent wildfires.
A month after a former Russian spy and his daughter were poisoned in the UK, the Russian UN ambassador called the UK's allegations against them a fake story. A week after the attack, Prime Minister Theresa May said the UK government concluded that it was highly likely that Russia was involved in the act. The Russian diplomat said, quote, "We have told our British colleagues that they are playing with fire and they will be sorry."
Donald Trump is sending troops to the border of Mexico. To find out more, here's CNN's Mary Maloney.
It's been a long-standing talking point and promise from his campaign. And on Wednesday, the White House announced the next step in President Trump's plan to shore up the southern border.
The president has directed that the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security work together with our governors to deploy the National Guard to our southwest border to assist the Border Patrol.
The announcement comes after the president's discussed with what he calls the country's weak immigration policies and lack of funding for a border wall dominated his tweets this week. On Tuesday, the president told reporters he was looking at a military option to stop a migrant caravan headed to the U.S. from the south.
Until we can have a wall and proper security, we're going to be guarding our border with the military.
Troops could be deployed almost immediately.
The National Guard understands the urgency and the request, so we will do it as expeditiously as possible.
Trump is not the first president to send the National Guard to help at the border. Former Presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush both deployed guardsmen. Both had those decisions criticized, since according to U.S. law, troops cannot actually participate in immigration enforcement. Instead, they're limited to support roles like construction and intelligence. I'm Mary Maloney reporting.
Thank you, Mary. A fire broke out in a hospital in Istanbul yesterday, forcing the evacuation of the patients. The fire was on the outside of the building, but smoke did fill the hospital. There were no serious injuries, or deaths, although reports say several people were affected by the smoke. No cause for the fire has been released yet.
A popular Bollywood star named Salman Khan was arrested and later sentenced to 5 years in prison on Thursday after he allegedly shot 2 black bucks. A spokesperson said that there is a possibility that Khan could appeal the case. If the appeal is successful, the sentence could end up being suspended. Khan continues to plead his innocence. Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has approved the closure of Boracay for 6 months due to overcrowding and development. The island can only sustain 30,000 people, but it teems with 70,000. The growth of the island has threatened to turn the island into a, quote, dead island.
Yesterday, a man was arrested after 2 small explosives were detonated in an Ontario Sam's Club. The store was immediately evacuated and several products near the explosion were on fire. There were no structural damages or injuries. The man, Hugo Gonzalez, acted alone, and several similar materials used in the store were also found in his car. A Thunderbird pilot has been identified by the Air Force in an F-16 crash in Nevada. The pilot, Major Stephen Del Bagno, was an experienced flyer and had just joined the elite Thunderbirds this season and was on a routine training demonstration flight.
The New York Times opened their Wednesday evening briefing with, "It looks a lot like a trade war." Here's CNN's Karen Kafer with more.
Heightened trade tensions with China, putting American companies with interests there and possibly American consumers in the middle. On Wednesday, China hit back at U.S. tariff proposals, threatening a 25% tariff on some U.S. products, including planes, cars, and soybeans. But Beijing didn't specify when the new tariffs would take effect. A top White House economic advisor suggested the U.S. tariffs may be intended by the president as a negotiating tactic.
This is not about trade wars. This is about holding to the laws and the customs of free trade and holding violators to account.
In recent weeks, the Trump administration has proposed tariffs on steel and aluminum from countries including China, citing U.S. national security, and other Chinese goods following a U.S. investigation into alleged intellectual property theft by the Chinese, which Beijing denies. The Chinese tariffs suggest an effort to hit the Trump administration politically, going after industries in states that voted for Trump in 2016, soybean producers, for example, and heavy manufacturing.
It's going to disrupt a lot of manufacturing activity, and then the counter moves by the Chinese were very strategic.
The economic spat also comes at a delicate diplomatic time. President Trump has sought China's help in pressuring North Korea to stand down on its nuclear weapons pursuit. Last week, Chinese President Xi Jinping hosted Kim Jong-un in Beijing as the White House prepares for a summit between Trump and Kim sometime this spring. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Concerning the Trump administration tariffs, we will immediately fight back with a major response, a Ministry of Commerce representative said during a Chinese language briefing with reporters today in Beijing. We have no other choice.
Coming up next on RMU-Live, fake weed hospitalizations are growing.
And nightmare bacteria is spreading throughout the country. We'll be right back.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Here at Robert Morris University, we pride ourselves at the experience that our students gain while they're actively learning in the classroom. Some even come back to share that knowledge with new students.
I never dreamed that I'd be back here. I'm having so much fun. I'm doing a lot of what I was trained to do and what I went to school for.
The Colonial Sports Network is a great opportunity for students to learn real job skills in sports programming.
To be able to see what the students want to make of it, because it can be anything that they want.
I love being here, seeing students, seeing myself in the students that work with me, and I'm really blessed to have so much talent to work with. It's really amazing.
To be able to see students become successful after Robert Morris is really cool.
Join the Colonial Sports Network team and expand your future today.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
A fake cannabis by the name of Spice, or K2, is becoming a serious situation across Chicago. There have been 70 cases of severe bleeding, along with 2 deaths related to the fake product. 9 of these cases have also contained rat poison in the product, and cases are continuing to come in.
An E. coli outbreak in New Jersey could be related to Panera Bread. 6 people in 4 counties in New Jersey have reported that they have contracted the disease. The Department of Health is investigating a local Panera Bread in Phillipsburg. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention reported an uptick in unusually antibiotic-resistant bacteria. 11% of people screened for the superbugs carried them, but none of them had any symptoms. The CDC found several dangerous pathogens hiding in plain sight that can cause infections that are difficult or impossible to treat, said CDC's Dr. Ann Shute. While they are appearing all over the place, an aggressive approach can snuff them out, she said.
A new study shows eating out can expose you to several harmful chemicals. Here's CNN's Reed Brinian with more.
It's convenient, but eating out may be taking a toll on your hormones. That's according to a study published in the journal Environment International. Researchers say dining out increases your exposure to potentially harmful chemicals. Those chemicals are called phthalates, and researchers say they can make your hormones go haywire. The study found that people who ate at restaurants and fast food outlets had 35% higher levels of phthalates than those who didn't. For years, eating foods with high levels of those chemicals have been linked to birth defects, and now scientists suspect the chemicals can disrupt hormones and cause fertility problems. Researchers say food is likely contaminated with those chemicals because it comes in contact with gloves and plastic packaging. Those same synthetic chemicals are also found in perfumes, hairsprays, and shampoos. The good news is that those chemicals only stay in the body for about a day. For today's Health Minute, I'm Reed Binion.
Thank you, Reed. Be sure next time you eat out, you know what's on your food.
A new study shows that the brain may in fact have the ability to create new nerve cells well throughout a person's life. This contradicts a previous study that said the hippocampus stops creating new neurons after childhood. The hippocampus is thought to be the center of the brain that's responsible for emotion, memory, and the part of the nervous system responsible for functions such as breathing and heartbeat. A dozen small black holes have been spotted in the Milky Way. Astrophysicist Charles Haley of Columbia University and his team spotted the black holes and made the report in an April 4th edition of Nature. The scientists found the black holes by spotting stars that were slowly spiraling inward. The newly found black holes are near the center of the galaxy, so don't worry, they're about 25,000 light years away from Earth.
It's going to be an exciting day in Pittsburgh today, as it is the opening of Pittsburgh's Food Truck Park in Millvale. This outdoor-indoor venue will contain several alcohol and food options and will be open on Fridays and Saturdays this month before slowly opening full-time. The trucks will also add hours on Sunday and Monday as the weather warms up.
Carnegie Mellon University students have been hard at work developing a data tool to help detect fire-prone buildings. A doctoral program at CMU is helping the city of Pittsburgh with fire prevention and safety by developing the tool. Michael Madeo is a student behind the project and is tasked with prioritizing the city's 20,000 commercial properties within the city. The model uses artificial intelligence and past fire incident reports, among other factors, to assess the at-risk buildings.
Hikers discovered skeletal remains in Mount Washington yesterday around 5 o'clock. Police responded to the report near Wyoming Street and Grandview Avenue. A rescue team came and removed the remains. The Allegheny County Medical Examiner's Office is investigating. A police chase and shootout took place in Lawrence County on Thursday after a suspect was accused of shooting a new Wilmington Borough police cruiser during a pursuit on Route 208. The suspect, William Frazier II, ignored state troopers' commands when he was found behind a shed. He was fatally shot and is now dead.
Be sure to tune into our other shows, RMU-Live Mondays at 1 p.m. and Fridays at noon, Sports Talk in the Berg, and RMU Tonight Wednesdays at 5, and Colonial Sports Center Thursdays at 9:30 here on RMU-TV. I believe next week might be the last week for shows, right, Maureen?
It is the last week for shows.
Oh my goodness. Well, coming up next, Avon Patel is in our Weather Center.
And Nick Hederick with sports coming up next.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Here at Robert Morris University, we pride ourselves at the experience that our students gain while they're actively learning in the classroom. Some even come back to share that knowledge with new students.
I never dreamed that I'd be back here. I'm having so much fun. I'm doing a lot of what I was trained to do and what I went to school for.
The Colonial Sports Network is a great opportunity for students to learn real job skills in sports programming.
To be able to see what the students want to make of it, because it can be anything that they want.
I love being here, seeing students, seeing myself in the students that work with me, and I'm really blessed to have so much talent to work with. It's really amazing.
To be able to see students become successful after upper morning is really cool.
Join the Colonial Sports Network team and expand your future today.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to RMU-Live. I am Nick Hedrick, and it is time to talk sports. There is a lot going on here in Pittsburgh as the Penguins approach the end of the regular season and the Pirates begin theirs. Last night, the Penguins defeated the Columbus Blue Jackets by a final tally of 5-4. Phil Kessel scored 2 goals, including the game winner in overtime, and he also added an assist for a big 3-point night. The final game of the regular season is tonight as they host the Ottawa Senators at 7:30. The Penguins will look to stay ahead of the Blue Jackets in the Metropolitan Division and get a better seed for the playoffs. On to the diamond now. The Pirates continued their hot start with a 5-2 victory over the Cincinnati Reds last night. Gregory Polanco drove in 3 of the Pirates' runs. Stephen Brault got the win, and Felipe Rivero notched his 3rd save of the season. The Pirates and Reds will play 3 more games in this 4-game series this weekend. Trevor Williams will take the mound for the Pirates tonight. And in national sports news, it's golf's biggest tournament, and it's officially underway as the Masters began yesterday. Jordan Spieth is currently in the lead after posting a score of 6 under par yesterday. Today, day 2 has already started, and we are going to now switch over to the UFC, where superstar Conor McGregor turned himself into police yesterday and is expected to be charged with assault. McGregor and his entourage showed up at the UFC press conference and threw guardrails and bike racks at a bus carrying UFC fighters. A few of those fighters were injured, and before we went on air, I learned that McGregor will be charged with 3 misdemeanor assaults and 1 case of misdemeanor criminal mischief. And spring sports are now in full swing here at RMU as the school year winds down. The women's softball team will take on Mount St. Mary's in a doubleheader today starting at 2. The 19th ranked men's lacrosse team will take on Hobart tomorrow in a big road matchup. The women's team will have 2 big home games this weekend as they host Wagner tonight and Mount St. Mary's tomorrow. And that is all the time we have for sports. Now let's send it over to Avon Patel with the weather. Avon, how is it looking out there?
Thanks, Nick. All right, for tomorrow forecast right here, we got a high of 53 and with a low of 23 with a 50% chance of snow because snow is coming back. Because why not? With a chance of 49% of humidity. As for 5-day forecast, right here, it's going back to the cold temperature right here on Sunday at 38 with a low of 27. I can see there's a snow and a mix of rain on Tuesday with a high of 42 and 26. But Mr. Sunshine will come back to life on Wednesday with a high of 48 and a low of 38. And then he's going to go away and then go back to rain on Thursday with a high of 53 and a low of 35. Now I'm going to send it back to the desk to wrap up this nice, beautiful show.
All right, Dylan, what do you think about the weather that's coming back?
I can't believe there's still a 50% chance of snow, Ava.
I thought we are like well into spring now. I'm so over brushing off my car.
Yeah, I'm over it. Well, folks, from our entire crew here at RMU-TV, thank you so much for having us. That's all we have.
See you next week, and ready. Have a great weekend.